You don't always want it running at 203 degrees like the stock thermostat is set for. However, you don't want it running too cold either. Hey, what is up guys, Donovan here, and today I wanted to make a video to help you guys, especially those who have not chosen or who are deciding what type of thermostat they want to get for their Hemi engines, finally make their decision. So lately in the Mopar community, I've seen a lot of people recommend that you go with a 160 degree thermostat over a 180 when you are switching out your stock 203 thermostat. Now, I think that this kind of stems from a fairly older belief that more heat in an engine equals worse performance. Now, with modern day engines, especially the Gen 3 Hemi, pretty much any engine that's coming out nowadays, that is not always the case. Now, it is true that you don't want your Hemi running at 250 degrees or super hot. You don't always want it running at 203 degrees like the stock thermostat is set for. However, you don't want it running too cold either. So you guys are familiar with the whole thing surrounding cold starts and not revving your engine when it's cold and all that. Well, that still applies. When you turn on an engine, it needs to heat up properly and it needs to get to an operating temperature. Now, the reason they come with a stock thermostat is because Dodge recommends that the normal operating temperature for these cars is around 203 degrees. Because of that, you don't necessarily want to jump all the way down to an 160 degree thermostat, because then you're messing with a ton of things that are already pre-programmed into the computer of the car. So when you jump down to an 160 degrees thermostat, you're opening a can of worms for a lot of things. You're more likely to throw a check engine light because the engine is not heating up properly, or it's not normally operating at the optimal operating temperature for that engine. Now, a lot of people like to say, oh, well, more heat is worse performance. Now, this is once again jumping back to that old saying, that old notion that heat is always a bad thing. So like I said before, there's an optimal operating temperature for these engines. Now, this is also pretty widely known that when you do cold start an engine, the engine is actually smaller physically. And the reason that happens is because of thermal expansion. 40 degrees will actually make a pretty big difference with how much the engine expands. So if you're jumping magically from 200 degrees all the way down to 160, that means that the engine hasn't expanded properly and you could actually be causing more wear and tear on the engine. Now, this can be avoided with better quality oils like synthetic oils and stuff, but it's still not entirely recommended. Another reason, which a lot of people may not care as much about, especially if they're buying a gas guzzler like a Hemi, is emissions. Now, modern engines, well, any engine for that matter, are tuned to run the most efficient at 203 degrees Celsius or around that temperature. Gas burns more completely and your car isn't running as rich. So if you're concerned with emissions at all, if you have your car running at a lower temperature like 160 degrees, you actually are going to get worse gas mileage and your car is going to be running more rich because you have more unburnt gas running through the system. So if you care for emissions at all and, you know, care a little bit for the earth, which, I mean, you probably should, it's not always best to just go with the coldest thermostat possible. So these were just a couple of reasons to either go with the 180 degree thermostat or just stick with your stock thermostat in the first place, because to be completely honest, without a tune, you're not going to see many gains from a 180 degree thermostat or 160 degree thermostat. And like I said before, running the coldest one possible isn't always the best way to go. My recommendation is just to stick with a 180 degree thermostat if you do choose to upgrade yours, or just stay with the stock one. So if you guys disagree, if you have any other points you would like to add, please remember to throw that in the comments below. I just wanted to make this video because I've seen a lot of people recommending that you do go with the 160 degree thermostat for performance reasons, but There are also other reasons that you might not want to go with the 160 degree thermostat. So if you guys enjoyed this video, or you enjoy topics like this where I kind of debunk notions or beliefs that people kind of gather around in the car community, then remember to click that like button, subscribe to my channel if you are new, and thank you guys for watching. Peace out. There's a dude watching me record this to my left, and I'm kind of scared to look at him again. This is kind of odd.